Here we are today with the Gymna Shockmaster 300. The Shockmaster 300 in its bag is 43 centimetres tall or 17 inches. It's 38 centimetres wide or 15 inches and it's 25.5 centimetres deep or 10 inches deep. Compared to a standard carry-on bag, the Gymna is just slightly lower height-wise and is slightly wider. If we put the bag in front of the Gymna, you can see they're extremely similar size-wise. If we compare the Gymna to a captain's bag, this is the sort of bag you would put a laptop and a projector in. You can see the Gymna is not quite as wide, it's just slightly taller and it's about the same depth. If we now compare the Gymna to a standard rucksack, you can see that they're about the same height. The Gymna is slightly wider and again they're about the same depth. Overall, not a particularly big machine in its bag. As you can see, the Gymna weighs 16.4 kilos, which is 36.2 pounds. As you can see, the Gymna fits easily into the back of a small 4x4 or SUV. It really is a compact machine, although it may not be the lightest machine to lift into the back of a vehicle or carry around. It fits extremely snugly, leaving plenty of space for other equipment. Here we are with the Shockmaster 300 from Gymna. We'll start by unpacking the top of the bag. It's in its carry case. The top of the bag velcros down, and in the very top pouch is the power cord. Underneath is a second pouch that you can pull out. You don't have to use this pouch, although it seems this is the way Gymna wants it used. If we undo the top of this pouch, you'll see inside we have the Shockwave head. And down the two compartments of the pouch, there's a pair of heads, in this case two 15mm heads, as the Shockmaster has its 20mm head already attached. If we take that pouch and set it aside, underneath are the instructions. It comes with various instruction manuals, you can see here. And if we open the flap at the front, you'll see there's a carry handle. If you undo the velcro on the carry handle, the two handles velcro together. That's very useful. It's a very strong handle, but it does need to be. This machine's extremely heavy. The front of the case unzips. In this case the two zips are down at the bottom. That flap now folds up and you can actually see the front of the Shockmaster machine. This is how you would use the Shockmaster machine in its bag. Looking at the back of the bag now, or actually at the bottom of the bag if the machine was stood up as it would be normally, you can see here the 5 metal studs. They're actually pretty good. They stop the bag from sliding around if it's stood up, most especially in the car. You can see this bottom flap zips down again. If we zip it down, you'll see the back of the Shockwave machine. There's a strap here. This actually holds the Shockwave machine in place in case you accidentally lift it up whilst the flap is undone. The strap will hold the Shockwave machine. Just behind the strap you can see the water vaporizer. This actually collects water vapour as it comes in. Compressed air actually generates water vapour, and so you don't want that coming out of the head and splashing all over your patient. And so there's actually a water catcher That's pretty standard in any sort of air compressor or oil compressor. It does stop water from getting up into the actual tool, in this case the shockwave head. That can be drained once the water fills, although it certainly doesn't look to have collected much water so far, and this machine has already done over 2 million shocks. Looking just next to it, you can see where you insert the power cable, and there's the power button. If we insert the power cable, you see it slides in very solidly. It's just a standard kettle lead, and above it is the power switch to switch the machine on and off. I think most of the time you'd probably leave that in the on position, as it is here. Underneath and slightly inwards, we have a USB adapter. This is to plug in a USB stick to update the software. To show the insertion of the head into the machine, we've come around the side of the machine. We're on the right hand side if you're looking at the machine as we were a second ago. If we undo the little flap on the side, you'll see that there's an access point to put the shockwave head into the machine. It does have a little red dot above it. The adapter can only go in one way. You'll see the red dot at the top of the adapter that goes uppermost on the attachment. If we bring it in now, it will only slide in. It's a very positive lock. To take it back out, you pull the sleeve and it just flips back out. We thought it important to point out a couple of things about the Shockmaster 300. Firstly, this machine is very heavy. Most men find this machine difficult to carry. Even men who are very muscular find this machine difficult to carry upstairs. Most of our female members of staff find this machine extremely difficult to manoeuvre and extremely difficult to carry upstairs. If you're negotiating stairs on a day-to-day basis and you're a female member of staff, this machine is going to be tricky, very tricky. The machine we've shown you so far in its bag, actually the machine does not, and I repeat does not, come with the bag. The bag is an optional extra. It is not included in the purchase price. I was quite surprised at this when the agent told me that was the case, and I actually emailed Gymna at the head office to ascertain whether that was correct or not. I have received an email back from Gymna. They do answer their emails, and it is true, the bag is not included in the price. The agent from Gymna themselves actually told me that the cost of the bag, this is without any agent's fees, was €195. It's a nice bag, but €195 is a lot of money. If you buy this machine as a portable machine and presume it's going to have the bag with it, you'd be wrong. You will have to purchase the bag. It does not come as a standard part of the equipment. To say this machine is not portable without the bag would be an understatement. Having said what we've just said about the bag, I thought it important to show you how difficult it is to get the machine in and out of the bag. We've got one of our female members of staff here. She's going to try and attempt to take the Shockmaster 300 out of the bag. And there you go, that's the Shockmaster 300 out of its bag. It is not easy to get out of the bag. If you buy the Gymna as a standalone unit and you want it as a portable unit without the bag, this is what you will get. If we try and pick up the machine now with all its pieces, you'll see this is exactly how you'll be carrying the machine around. Interestingly enough, Gymna don't try to hide this. In their sales literature, they actually have a picture of a man with the machine slung underneath his left arm. Of interest, he is not carrying the shockwave head, the power cord, or either of the adapters. And as you can probably already see, our female member of staff is struggling to hold the machine. She so far hasn't been holding it 30 seconds. Never mind transport it anywhere or carry it anywhere. Without its bag, this is not a portable machine. Out of its bag, as we are looking at it here on the table, the Gymna is 36 centimetres wide, or 14 1/4 inches. It's 38.5 centimetres deep, which is 15 inches. And it's 18 centimetres tall, which is 7 inches. It actually sits very nicely on an electrotherapy trolley. To see it sat on the electrotherapy trolley, it does look a very impressive piece of equipment. As a test, we're now going to see if one of our female members of staff can actually get the Gymna Shockmaster 300 back in its bag. This may seem like a strange test, but if you actually had the machine out on a trolley and wanted to take it out to a patient, you would need to do this. So, here we go. This may look like a real struggle. Believe you me, I have exactly the same problems trying to get this machine back into its bag. It's a very, very close fitting bag. As you can see, it really doesn't go in without a fight. There we go. Compressor built machines do not start immediately when you switch them on, and to that end we thought we'd see how long it took the Gymna to actually start once you switch the switch on. I'll press the start button here. Are you ready? Go. So here we are. You can see the screen is coming on, and you can see the counter on the mobile phone there. You've got the splash screen. Machines that are compressor driven often need to charge the compressor before they can come on. The Gymna here uses Windows CE to run its software. We did a similar review with an electromagnetic machine, and when you switch them on they pretty much come on instantly. So we thought it'd be interesting to show how long it actually took a compressor driven machine to come on. You may wonder why we would do this. But in essence, when we've had the machine in clinic, we haven't been leaving it switched on all day. The reason for that is it often has to recharge the compressor frequently to keep the machine topped up and ready to run. And there we go, 1 minute and 4 seconds. Now, as I was saying, it actually has to run the compressor to keep the machine charged up, and actually the machine will often just vibrate and rattle, and I've had patients in the room who have actually told me that the machine is moving whilst they're laying there, and they are right, it is moving because the compressor constantly charges up the machine. So we've actually been switching it on. As you can see, it takes just over a minute before you can actually start making settings and doing anything with the machine. The Shockmaster 300 does not have a foot switch. Some people really like a foot switch. I've got to say I'm not a big lover of a foot switch. I much prefer a hand switch. We went from a hand switch to a foot switch, and I honestly thought I would like it more, but I didn't. I thought the hand switch got in the way a little bit, but the truth was the foot switch was more intrusive for me, and I'm not sure a foot switch works very well on a portable machine, especially if you're a vet, and especially if you're treating horses maybe in a stable. Do you really want to put a foot switch down on the floor and step on it? The answer to that for me would be no. The Gymna uses a hand switch. It's here on the handle, as you can see. And to switch it on, all you do is press the switch. It's a one-time switch. The handle comes on until you press it again, and it goes off. It's actually a very simple switch to use, very easy, extremely reliable, and we like it. The Shockmaster 300 comes with 3 different heads. Attached at the top at the moment is its 20mm head. That's what they call a deactor head. Down on the table there we have on the left hand side the silver coloured 15mm. That's the ordinary head, that's a convex head. And then next to it is the deactor 15mm head, also referred to as the deep impact head. That's a concave head which is supposed to go deeper into the body. Changing the heads couldn't really be any simpler. You unscrew the existing head. It's a very, very solid screw mechanism. And then you screw into place the next head. As simple as that. The heads shouldn't ever need replacing, unless of course there's some sort of damage to them, but I couldn't ever see that happening. They are overall extremely good quality. The heads are actually made by Storz, who are the world leaders in shockwave therapy. As per usual, we're running a sound test on the Gymna. We've got a decibel meter set up. You can see we've got it at 1 bar, 10 Hertz. We've already run a few shocks just to test it's working properly. And if we put the machine on, the noise you're hearing there is 82 decibels. That's about equivalent to any other shockwave machine. It's not quite as high in my opinion as some of the electromagnetic machines, but it's still 82 decibels. And that does mean you're going to have to speak up to be heard above it. If we go up now to 4 bar, and run the machine again, that's 83 decibels at 10 Hertz. We checked 2 bar and we checked 3 bar. They were both 82 decibels at 10 Hertz. The maximum noise the machine makes is at 4 bar 17 Hertz. Here we go. That's 84 decibels. That is the maximum amount of noise the machine makes. Of interest, you'll be able to hear the compressor running. When the compressor's running consistently, we did take a check on it, it runs at 50 decibels. The settings on the Shockmaster 300 couldn't be any more simple. As you can see from the front of the screen here, on the left hand side you actually have a counter. That's a shocks counter. It's actually probably the best shocks counter I've ever seen. It really does count in real time. You get the exact number of shocks that the machine is delivering in real time. Most of the other machines, would you believe, don't do this. They actually lag slightly behind the number of shocks you've given. If you're trying to give 200 shocks out of 2000 in a row and press the button on the Gymna, you'll pretty much get 201, 202, maybe 206 at worst. If you press it on several other machines, you might be 230, 240 shocks before it actually stops. So that's a really nice feature. As you can see, there's a round button at the bottom. If you press that round button, it resets the shock counter. That's the button there. As you can see, we don't have any shocks on at the moment. At the top, you can see the power the machine is going to deliver. Its preset value is 1.5 bar. If we turn it down, you'll see that its minimum is 1 bar. And if we turn it up, and if we just keep pressing the button, that's the compressor kicking in to increase the pressure going through the machine. That's wobbling the whole table. It goes right up to 4 bar. Its bigger brother with a separate compressor can go up as far as 5 bar. As you can see and hear, the compressor has now gone up to its maximum pressure of 4 bar. At the bottom you've got your in the middle you've got your shocks, and at the moment it's set at 2000 shocks. If we turn it down, you'll see that the minimum on the shocks goes right down to single figures to 1. There's a good reason for that. Some people like to do shocks in bursts. This machine doesn't necessarily have a burst mode, but it will allow you to select 4 shocks. You run 4 shocks, press the button again, you get another 4 shocks. Press the button again, you get another 4 shocks, which is quite nice. If you go up, there's no real maximum limit on the number of shocks. You can just pretty much go as high as you like. Most people never really go above 4,000 shocks. So as long as the machine will hit 4,000 shocks or above, you're perfectly fine on the number. The compressor will just keep driving this machine as long as you keep wanting to use it. At the bottom is the hertz. This is the frequency that the shocks are delivered at. At the moment you can see it's at 8. And if we turn it down, you see it goes right down to 1. And then if we turn it up, you'll see it goes right up to 17. Interestingly enough, on a compressor driven machine, you can have 17 hertz at 4 bar. That's high pressure at high frequency. A lot of the electromagnetic machines just cannot manage this at all. They can't manage to get up to the high pressures at the high speeds. And so there's always a compromise on those machines between power and frequency. Quite why you'd ever want to use a machine at 4 bar at 17 hertz, I'm not really sure, but you can if you really want to. As you can see, the machine is fully manual. There currently aren't any pre-built patient settings onto this machine, although I do understand from Gymna they are considering putting them onto this machine just as its bigger brother has. Its bigger brother looks very similar to this machine. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the computer, etc., aren't exactly the same. And so the fact it doesn't have any preloaded patient protocols on could just be a bit of an oversight at this point. But Gymna have told me that they are considering putting them onto this machine. In summary, the Shockmaster 300 from Gymna. We've been using this machine now for about 5 weeks. It's an impressive little machine. Its shockwave is very nice. The actual production of the shockwaves is very nice. You don't feel like you're being hammered, even though the shockwave is straight onto the body. You don't need the rubber covers on this machine because it's a compressor driven machine. The ends of the shockwave head do not get hot. What that means is you can get those heads into much smaller places than you could if you were using a rubber covered head. They just fit to the body much better. Because the head that you see at the moment that's on the machine is a 15mm convex head, you can use gel with this machine quite easily. You don't have to worry about the cavitation as you do with other machines, especially when they have rubber covers and the rubber cover makes into a convex shape, even if the head is concave. So that's a proper bonus. The machine is heavy, not just a little bit heavy, significantly heavy. Weight-wise, it might not seem that much on the scales compared to others, but in real life this machine is heavy. I find it heavy to carry around, and I weigh over 16 stone. The machine doesn't start very quickly. If you're switching it off between patients, you're going to need to leave a little bit of time to switch it back on. That minute might not seem like much, but in real life, day to day, it can seem like an eternity. But once it's on, it's very easy to use. It delivers shockwave very nicely. It's a very different feel actually, a compressed machine to a electromagnetic machine. If you've never felt the two machines, I'd strongly suggest you get one of each and try them. The electromagnetic machine is often like being hit by a hammer, whereas the compressed air machines tend to feel deeper and less superficial. I don't think that's a reflection of the shockwave they generate. I really don't. I think they probably generate about the same. But they do feel slightly different in the real world. Interestingly enough, I have had treatment from this machine and really liked it, and it was effective. It did manage to get rid of quite a large lump of scar tissue I had very effectively. In fact, it was even more practical and effective than Kenalog injections. The machine isn't the easiest thing to transport, it isn't the easiest thing to set up, and it isn't the quickest thing to start in the world. I do think if you're looking for a portable machine, you're really going to have to live with this one. It seems to me this is a machine that was designed really to be used in a clinic, probably why they don't supply the bag with it. They're presuming you're going to use it in a clinic. Its bigger brother, which does come with a trolley, might be a bit more practical in a clinic, but is significantly heavier. And if you work in an environment where there's a lot of humidity, you probably wouldn't want the bigger machine. You've got an oil compressor on the bigger machine rather than just an air compressor, and obviously water and oil don't mix. Overall, this is a great machine. I would recommend it to anybody. Between this and an electromagnetic machine, I prefer the shockwave off this machine.